This is Article 11, Public Safety Building Renovation Expansion. This will be a bond issue. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $12,500,000 for purpose of structural replacement, expansion, and renovations and equipment replacement of the public safety building. Further, to authorize the issuance of not more than $12,500,000 in bonds or notes for the purpose in accordance with provisions of RSA 33 Municipal Finance Act. And to further authorize the Board of Selectmen to issue, negotiate, sell, deliver such bonds or notes to determine the rate of interest thereon and the maturity and other terms thereof, and to authorize the Board of Selectmen to apply for, obtain, accept federal, state, and any other aid, grants, and donations, if any, which may be available for said project and that may reduce the amount of bond to comply with all laws applicable to said project, and to authorize the Board of Selectmen to take any other actions or to pass any other vote relative thereto. Impact on the tax rate, 2023, 0 for assessment value. In 2024, 51 cents per thousand. 2025, 51 cents per thousand. Recommended by the Board of Selectmen by a vote of 5-0. Recommended by the Budget Committee by a vote of 8-0. 3/5 majority vote required. As most of you know, this project has been talked about for the last at least 5 years, that we have had meetings with architects and the different departments to determine what we need. We looked at different locations, and it's been brought back to the location that we have now. And I think that the chiefs are here to discuss their situations. This building will be new apparatus bays and a 2-story addition on the back of the existing brick building, which you see mostly from the road. Again, this has been a long project, but I think we have in my mind, a very nice layout to present to the public. Jim, you and the
Thanks, Dave.
Chief.
So in 2017, when David Owen was town manager, I was a fire chief. Chief Rondo went to Mr. Owen and myself, and we discussed the concept of getting the ball rolling on the public safety building design, where it was laid out in the master plan to be tackled in 2023. That resulted in us putting out an RFP for engineering firms to come in and look at our program, where we're located, and what the needs going forward were going to be. Today, who we have for members on that committee is Luke Freudenberg as a selectman, Captain Mark Libby of the police department, Bob Lohman, citizen and budget committee member, Nate Nichols, deputy fire chief, myself, James Pinio as town manager, Dean Rondo as the police chief, Kevin Schazenbacher as a citizen and retired police chief out of another state, Dave Senecal as a selectman, Bob Tuffer as a citizen budget committee member, Tom Zotti as the fire chief, and Eli Roxby as an energy committee member. Currently, we're working with Banwell Architects, CCI construction managers, and Norway Plains for our civil engineering. You can go to the website, town website, and on that site you'll see a link to the public safety building where you'll be able to get all project documents. This is a layout of what we're looking at for a building, and we'll get into some of the details in a bit. So what we have for a problem here is we've got a building that both of these agencies have outgrown. The phasing of this project going forward is going to be a challenge based on the real estate available on that piece of property, and one of the items that have been clearly identified with the phasing is it does lead to being a little more expensive. We've reviewed all parcels of land. One of the things that occurred previously when Mr. Owen was here as town manager, Matt Sullivan as the town planner. We performed an evaluation of all town-owned properties, and then we looked at some other properties that may be able to take on a project of this magnitude. One of the things we identified, we didn't have a lot of pieces of property that would take this type of project. We looked at all different options, and one common denominator is everything we do, no matter what we do, is going to be very expensive. So one of the really nice takeaways that was done in 2018 as a result of that RFP, we got an architect on board. That architect came through, they did an existing conditions report, which was excellent, and then they worked with department heads and staff and came up with a space programming requirement, which is essentially what we're still using today, and it seems to work very well. So our solution is to renovate the and expand on the existing location. We heard loud and clear from the citizens who attended some meetings of the committee. That's what they wanted, and that's what we're going to ask you as the voters to consider. Going forward, this will require attention to the fire department substation. One of the previous renditions that you may have heard about encompassed a police station and fire department substation in one project. And this project is designed with a little bit of expansion in mind for the future. Current status, everybody's working together. They've put together, the architects have put together a program that is in the hands of the construction manager to build a guaranteed maximum price, and then they'll continue to tweak the space programming going forward to ensure that we're as efficient as we possibly can with our monies. Construction manager is working on those prices now, and we'll have a updated pricing for the deliberative session. One of the things that's key to note to everybody is the bond. We talked with bond counsel, and we've worded the language in the warrant article, currently estimated at $12.5 million. We know that pricing's volatile right now, and we want to have the best pricing we can for deliberative session. So the construction managers will have that updated, and that could go up or that could go down at the deliberative session, and bond counsel has advised us that that's an acceptable practice going forward. The 2019 master plan identifies we need to resolve the police fire rescue facility. We've done that. We've listened to the citizens, we've taken the input, we've got the right people on board, and we've got a project that we're coming in front of you in 2023 as scheduled for you to weigh in on. Back in June, we held a public input session where we evaluated 5 options. The takeaway on that one was of the people present, they liked the idea of keeping the fire department in the downtown and utilizing the piece of property where the substation currently is to build a police station. So we started rolling that way. As a result of that, we got some feedback from some citizens who submitted petitions opposing the police station being located at that location. Concurrent to all of this taking place, the committee had put out an RFQ for evaluating different architects. And the reason for that was to ensure that the architect was keeping their pencil sharp, and that they provided us the best flow that we would get for the space programming. As that unfolded, we interviewed the architects, and it came back unanimous by everybody involved in the process that Banwell was the preferred architect. So we changed architects, and that was basically because of we liked their pricing model, and we have a great deal of satisfaction with their work at Pop Whalen. Here's a layout of the facility very quickly. And what I would anticipate happening in the coming weeks is the chiefs to my left and right will be giving presentations very specific to their own areas, and as well, hopefully we'll be able to get people in to see the building and see how confined it really is for them to work out of. This would be the second floor of the facility. Pretty straightforward. The flow works. It creates secure areas for the police department, creates good flow for the fire department. As Dave Senecal had stated, the apparatus bays will be coming down. There was a question about whether or not we could repurpose those. The problem becomes the snow load for that particular building is currently estimated at 40 to 45 pounds per square foot, so it doesn't meet code, and we're doing a greater than 30% renovation, so it has to meet current code, which would be 90 pounds per square inch, or square foot rather. We also evaluated having the apparatus bay floor rebuilt, $150,000 to do that, and the building has inadequate footings, not allowing for us to expand vertically. So when we were looking at separating the projects out, the construction costs was $12.8 million, and we'd have 2 large buildings remotely located, which has some pros and cons. One of the cons is the estimated costs for being able to operate those 2 buildings, so we felt it prudent to bring them back under the same roof. Here's a layout of what we're looking at for the building. This is from South Main Street, the southerly entrance. This is provided to us by Banwell Architects. Another view from the northerly entrance. What you'll see is a sally port for the police department to be able to come in and deliver prisoners to their booking area in a secure manner, and it also provides undercover parking outside of the weather but not enclosed for police vehicles. Here's another view from essentially the library area on South Main Street looking at the building. Pretty straightforward, easy design, elegant design, really, and it flows quite nicely, and it works for all of the departments. This would be the rear of the building, looking back toward Main Street. Again, you can see the covered parking for the police department to put their vehicles under, which will be beneficial for them in the winter months, and a hose tower for the fire department to be able to hang hose. Additionally, on this back side, you see next to that hose tower, to the left-hand side, there's a small addition there. That addition may be pulled off, but the nice thing about this is the building will be designed to be able to accept that addition in the future, depending on the costs. So we reached out to the bond bank. We looked at a 20 versus a 30-year note based on current evaluation of $2.4 billion. We're looking at a 51-cent tax rate impact, and then it goes down after year 2 payments. Current estimated project, $10 million as a construction estimate, contingency of $1 million, architectural engineering of $1 million, construction manager $600,000, and their general conditions an additional $200,000 for subtotal of $12.8 million. We have in 2022 we raised and appropriated $300,000 for engineering, so that gets us to our $12.5 million project. We're hopeful that by the time we get to the deliberative session, we have a draft contract for a guaranteed maximum price contract. And again, this number could go up, but we're hopeful that it will go down. So that's the gist of it. Chief Rondo, do you have anything you'd like to add to this?
Yes, I do. Thank you very much. Chief Rondo, Wolfeboro PD. So we've been in, both Wolfeboro PD and Wolfeboro Fire Rescue have been in this building, our current building, for approximately 50 years. I believe this year in 2023. This building is designed to serve the citizens and guests of the town of Wolfeboro for the next 50 years plus. It allows us to take advantage of a lot of changes in both industries, especially the police department allows us very well to take advantage of criminal justice reforms that are coming out of Washington, D.C., as well as the state of New Hampshire. And it allows us to properly serve the citizens of Wolfeboro in a very expeditious and efficient manner. I would welcome your support on this. We've been looking at this now for the better part of 5 years, And we heard the citizens loud and clear. This is where they want us. They don't want us anywhere else in town. They want us exactly at this location, and we heard them loud and clear. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Chief. Chief Zadi?
Thank you. I really don't have a whole lot to add. I'd just like to say this works for fire rescue on a number of levels, not the least of which is it would provide an upgraded facility in a location that serves us and the community very well in terms of being where the majority of our emergency responses are. Some of the concerns and drawbacks and the cons to some of the earlier plans that had us going to another location, in some cases, would have increased our response time to probably the majority of our calls. This allows us to maintain, if not improve that. It allows us to take advantages of better technology, department management technology, and so forth. Even some things that seems very simple. Today, as most people I think are aware, our apparatus bays face the library, so every time we respond, we come out of the building and immediately take a hard left to get onto South Main Street. In 1972 or 3, when fire at the time was responding to 85 or 100 or 125 calls a year, maybe not that big a deal. In 2022, when we responded to over 1,500 calls, that hard left takes a lot of wear and tear on the vehicles. This proposal allows us to put our primary response pieces facing South Main Street. It's a straight shot. Returning from calls in a lot of cases is much more simple. We'd enter on, as you face the building, the right-hand side of the building, make a loop around, and depending on the response, either drive through the back of the apparatus bay to the front to face the road, or come around the building and have a brief, very short backing session to get back in the building. Less wear and tear on the vehicles, upgraded office facilities. I think the question has come up about using our office space / bunk areas as quote-unquote multi-purpose facilities. Our concept going forward has been that those rooms would also double as office space for those individuals assigned to them, with Murphy beds or something to that effect for sleeping areas, to allow for a workstation of some sort to get double duty out of those spaces. It also would upgrade the facility to allow for, as we move forward, provide locker rooms, changing areas, decon areas, and so forth for firefighters of both sexes. Right now, we make do. The day will come, and it may not be far off, when we hire our first full-time female firefighter, and we need to be current on best practices and so forth with sleeping arrangements and changing arrangements and living space and that sort of thing. For those reasons and more, I think this really is a win-win. We understand it's a big price tag. On the upside, should we be able to move forward, as the chief indicated, we hope this facility can meet our needs for 40 to 50 years out. So if you look at it over time, yes, it's a big nut up front, but averaged out over the years, it can be a deal. And they're still working on some ideas that would maintain the footprint and so forth that might reduce the cost, and we would certainly welcome that. If anybody watching or listening would like to discuss operational things that we foresee in the new building, feel free to contact me. I'm sure I can speak for the chief at the same thing, and we'd be happy to take them on a tour of the existing building and then discuss what we hope to see for improvements and so forth.
So one of the items of takeaway, or a couple of items of takeaway on this, just so the citizens are aware, the dispatch center will remain in a similar location. They will continue to operate as greeters to the community. The chief has a plan in place if we have to relocate them during construction. So that is been managed at this point. The other thing is the original plan that we put forward with this particular concept was shared locker rooms between police and fire. The fact of the matter is these guys wear guns, these guys don't, and they don't go well together, and it makes good sense to have their own areas, because these guys to my right, the fire guys, are dealing with carcinogens that these police guys don't want to deal with. So there's some benefits and some drawbacks, but one of the things that I think, can sit here as a management team and tell you, we listened to what you, the citizens, had to say, and we took that message and we brought it to our new architects, and the new architects listened to what we had to say. And I think that they brought together an excellent program that will give this community a building to be proud of for years to come. As stated earlier, if you have questions, please reach out to either the chiefs, myself, and I would anticipate seeing some programming on Wolfeboro Community Television as we get closer to the vote, get through the deliberative session, and we look forward to your support on this project. Thank you.
I'll be reading Article 12, Libby Museum Renovation and Expansion Project, which is a bond. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $4 million for the purpose of structural repairs, equipment replacement, expansion, renovations, and engineering of the Libby Museum. Further, to authorize the issuance of not more than $1,425,000 in bonds or notes for this purpose in accordance with the provisions of RSA 33, the Municipal Finance Act, and to further authorize the Board of Selectmen to accept at least $2.2 million in donations from the Friends of Libby Museum for this purpose, and further to authorize a withdrawal of $305,000 from the previously established Libby Museum Expansion and Renovation Capital Reserve Fund. Also to authorize the Board of Selectmen to withdraw funds from the Betty Jane Schroth Libby Museum Endowment in the amount of $70,000. Also to further authorize the Board of Selectmen to issue, negotiate, sell, and deliver such bonds or notes, and to determine the rate of interest thereon and the maturity and other terms thereof, and to authorize the Board of Selectmen to apply for, obtain, and accept federal, state, and or other aid grants and donations, if any, which may be available for said project, and that may reduce the amount to bond, and to comply with all the laws applicable to this to said project, and to authorize the Board of Selectmen to take any other actions or to pass any other vote relative thereto. Estimated tax rate impact: 2023, 0 cents per $1,000 assessed valuation. 2024, 8 cents per $1,000 assessed valuation. 2025, 8 cents per $1,000 assessed valuation. Recommended by the Board of Selectmen by a vote of 4-0 to 1. Not recommended by the Budget Committee by a vote of 5 to 3. And a 3/5 majority vote is required. The Libby Museum was built in 1912 by Dr. Libby and taken over in 1956 by the town of Wolfeboro by a town meeting vote, and established a Libby Museum Trust with the Board of Selectmen acting as trustees. Over the years, the building is showing its age. The walls are shifting, there have been structural issues with the floor, and there's a major issue with mold on the walls. Turnbuckles are added to stabilize the walls, so they are now moving in unison. The support beams under the floor were stabilized. Another major issue is there's no climate control. This is causing deterioration with the exhibits. There's fur falling off the animals and feathers are falling off the birds, let alone the health hazard to the employees and the visitors being exposed to the mold. So in 2019, the Friends of Libby Museum brought forward a plan to renovate and expand with a small addition in the back to house the mechanical systems, bathrooms, an office, and meeting room. The Friends of Libby Museum have committed to raise $2.2 million toward this project, which is a huge undertaking. They have also committed to raise an endowment, which will eventually provide the funds to take over the daily operation of the museum from the town. This is a great partnership and opportunity for the town, and I ask for your support for this warrant article. I'll turn this over to Jim for more information.
Thanks, Brad. So I think one of the big things to put out there to begin this presentation is there's been an MOU in place with the Board of Selectmen regarding the Libby Museum and the Friends of the Libby Museum and how the relationship works and the funds that were required. And that statement outlined a 70-30 split based on the 2019 pricing that we had. However, the Friends of the Libby Museum have raised $2.2 million, and they have a large donation, which if this was not put on the warrant this year would go away. Therefore, the Board of Selectmen felt it was important to place this on the warrant and let the voters truly decide what happens. So this is why you're seeing it come in front of you without an exact 70-30 split. The other thing is we're still working on the numbers in hopes that we may be able to reduce it. So regarding this warrant article, the 2019 master plan outlines study expansion and site improvements for the Libby Museum of Natural History. We're working through that now based on the recommendation of the Libby Museum in the master plan. Here's another outline of the master plan, which discusses the need for air handling system and building stabilization, and further discusses the potential of Wolfeboro becoming a museum hub of New Hampshire. So these are items that have been identified in the master plan in 2019, and we're continuing to move forward with them. We engaged Alba Architects, who worked with Cobb Hill, to provide us some construction costs of this project. And those numbers came in around June, late June of 2022. We had some concerns about it, so we reached out to an independent third party, had them look at the museum, look at the proposed design, and come back with a cost estimate. Their takeaway was if you can get the Cobb Hill construction firm to do this project at a guaranteed maximum price in the neighborhood of $4 million, the town should take that option. So we're working through that right now. This lays out some of the costs associated with the project, with those soft costs being in the neighborhood of $311,000. And again, that's based on late June numbers. Right now, what we're looking at, the biggest concern that we have is there's a huge discrepancy between the contingencies of the two firms, about $270,000. We're working through that at this time to try and determine what is the best number to plug in. We may be able to see some reductions in this number here, but it's a concern because it's an old building and we know that we're going to run into some issues with this. We do anticipate having final pricing for the deliberative session, and that's based on implementation of this today. The other thing, as we noted with the public safety building, at the deliberative session, depending on what we hear going forward, this article could go either up or down. We're hopeful that it goes down. Here is a basic design of what the back of the building looking toward Lake Winnipesaukee would be. This, I believe it's a 1,500 square foot addition, would house the HVAC system. This would also act as an anchor for the building to prevent that lateral movement that Brad had discussed. So what's it going to cost you on your tax bill? $100,000 home is going to be 8 cents per thousand, or $8. $1 million home will be, again, 8 cents, and it'll be $80. And that's based on a $4 million project, which we're hopeful to be able to get $2.2 million in donations, reducing the need for taxation. We're hopeful to get that around the $1.1 million mark. I think Brad can probably talk to this a little bit better. I believe that coming up, the Friends of the Libby Museum are going to be having some events to discuss the museum, to talk about the plans, and they are really in a much better position to be able to speak toward this than what I am, as they've really taken the lead on this project. Brad, do you happen to recall what the date on those meetings were?
Yeah, those two meetings were the 24th and the 28th, which is I believe that's a Tuesday and a Saturday at the library. And they'll be there to answer any questions, have plans available, and would look forward to meeting, a lot of the public to ask questions.
So if you really want more information, attend one of those sessions. They really have the ability to answer the questions that you may have. And you can obviously reach out to my office. If you have specific questions, I can try to answer them or at least point you in the correct direction. We really thank you for considering this project. This is a huge contribution to the town, and I think that's why the Board of Selectmen have gone forward to put this on the warrant, because of the fact of that $2.2 million is a lot of money on this magnitude of a project. Thank you.
Article 13, sewer line extension, Forest and Varney roads bonded. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $1 million for the purpose of engineering and installing sewer extension on Forest Road in the area of Cary Beach and Varney Road in the area of Friend Street. Further, to authorize the issuance of not more than $1 million in bonds or notes for this purpose in accordance with the provisions of RSA 33, the Municipal Finance Act, and to further authorize the Board of Selectmen to issue, negotiate, sell, and deliver such bonds or notes, and to determine the rate of interest thereon, and the maturity, and other terms thereof, and to authorize the Board of Selectmen to apply for, obtain, and accept federal, state, and other aids, grants, and donations, if any, which may be available for said project, and that may reduce the amount to bond, and to comply with all the laws applicable to said project, and to authorize the Board of Selectmen to take any other action or to pass any other vote relative thereto, and to authorize the town manager to sign any related documents. Estimated tax impact, 2023, no cents per thousand. 2024, 6 cents per thousand. 2025, 6 cents per thousand. Recommended by the Board of Selectmen by a vote of 5-0. Recommended by the Budget Committee by a vote of 6-2, 3/5 majority vote required. This warrant article is addressing two sections of the town where septic systems are not working well or are in failure. The Varney Road extension is in the area of Friend Street where the land is low and wet. The Forest Road extension will run from Sewell Road down past Jockey Cove to about Hopewell Point Road. In Jockey Cove, the water has tested high for E. coli, and in fact, higher than EPA standards for some periods of time over the last 2 summers. This is a health issue that needs to be addressed with a new sewer line. Water quality of our lakes, ponds, and streams is paramount to the health of our community. Please vote in favor of this warrant article, and I'll turn the presentation over to the town manager.
Thank you, Linda. So this project has, quite frankly, been very challenging, but it's challenging because of the timing. As Linda said, we've got documented E. coli contamination and cyanobacteria outbreaks on Cary Beach and in Jockey Cove. Challenging topography to be able to install approved septic systems. In fact, some of the septic systems that were installed there were actually installed in failure because of the elevation that's in play at those locations. So we're looking at approximately 2,300 feet of low pressure sewer line on Forest Road that would run up Forest Road to the intersection of Sewell, and then it'd go down Sewell Road and tie into Sewell Road. The Board of Selectmen would work to issue connection fees going forward, and the property owners would have to install tanks with pump systems that would pump the system and move the effluent out. Depending on the engineers are still working on it. Those systems may not move solids. They may not contain grinder pumps, but we're still working to figure that out. These would tie into existing lines. We've been advised that we can do that. It does have the capacity to do it, and the engineers are working on finalizing the design. And again, we're hopeful to have reduced pricing for the deliberative session. We're hopeful you support this article. It's a good project. It ties up some loose ends. It would also allow us to tie in the Cary Beach bathroom facilities into a system rather than using a leach field and whatnot on our own property. So we're hopeful you support this, and if you have questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to my office. We can try to answer as much as we can, but this is a project that is being feverishly engineered at this time, and the engineers have been working on it for a number of months, but we're in a positive direction on it. Thank you.
Article 14, South Main Street to Center Street to Smith River Bridge Water Main Replacement, SRLF, State Revolving Loan Fund. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $2 million for the purpose of replacing vintage water mains on South Main Street from Center Street to the Smith River Bridge. Funds shall be utilized for engineering fees and waterline replacement. The amount of $1,690,000 shall be funded from the Water Enterprise Fund. This expenditure shall not result in any increase in the tax rate. Further, to authorize the issuance of $1,690,000 in bonds or notes for this project in accordance with the provisions of RSA 33, the Municipal Finance Act, and to further authorize the Board of Selectmen to issue, negotiate, sell, and deliver such bonds or notes, and to determine the rate of interest thereon, and the maturity and other terms thereof, and to authorize the Board of Selectmen to participate in the State Revolving Loan Fund, RSA 486:14, established for this purpose, and to allow the Board of Selectmen to accept such monies as become available from the federal and state governments, and to authorize the Board of Selectmen to take any other actions or to pass any other vote relating thereto, and to authorize the town manager to sign any relating documents. The town has been awarded a New Hampshire Department of Environmental Services American Rescue Plan Act grant in the amount of $310,000. Estimated tax rate impact for 2023 is 0 cents per $1,000 assessed valuation. For 2024, 0 cents per $1,000 assessed valuation. 2025, 0 cents per $1,000 assessed valuation. This is recommended by the Board of Selectmen by a vote of 5-0, recommended by the Budget Committee by a vote of 8-0, and a 3/5 majority vote is required. The water line from Pickering Corner to the Smith River Bridge downtown is another one of our vintage water lines. These lines installed over 100 years ago often use lead as a sealer in the joints, and they are undersized for the demand that they're currently supplying. As the warrant article states, there is no tax rate impact associated with this article. I ask for your support for this warrant article, and I'll turn this over to Jim for more details.
Thanks, Brad. One of the things about these bonds is they are very wordy. And that's because we're committing money out in future years. As Brad said, this will take us from Pickering Corner downtown to the Smith River Bridge. This project is currently being engineered with an anticipated construction date of spring and fall of 2024, potentially some evenings. One of the challenges with this project is they're going to have to install temporary water lines to be able to do this. When this project originally came to us, it came to us in what was called this complete streets project, which means we were looking at the water line, the sewer line, the stormwater line, and rebuilding the street. However, in talking with the engineering firms that we're dealing with and the contractors, that really isn't practical. And on top of that, the timing would not be very easy to work out with the cost of the project, because as we know, escalations right now, we don't know where they're going to land. So in the asset management plan, North and South Main Street have been identified as priority 1 between 2024 and 2027 to replace, and as Brad alluded to, their 1900s vintage pipe. The system got taxed heavily the other evening with the fire in downtown. It performed well, and we want to continue to have that performance. And in order to do that, we need to replace infrastructure, and now is the time to do it. This is a map of the water system, and the 2 arrows. The arrow to your right indicates the intersection of Center Street at Pickering Corner, and then it shows the Smith River Bridge. That is going to be the scope of the work. It'll also involve replacements of service lines. So what's the project going to cost us? Right now we have a project cost estimated at $2 million. We've got ARPA grant funding in the amount of $310,000, with the amount to be bonded or submitted to the state revolving loan fund of $1,690,000. Now we have a potential of loan forgiveness of up to 50%, which means this $2 million project could cost us $845,000. Loan forgiveness is not guaranteed, but this is a really good opportunity for us to leverage some state funds to replace infrastructure and not have a huge impact on the ratepayers. That's the end of this article. We look forward to you supporting it. And again, if this passes, construction will not take place until 2024, and we would anticipate following years coming back and asking for doing the sewer main replacement and stormwater replacement, and hopefully working with the state to be able to rebuild Main Street. Thank you.
I will be reading Warrant Article 15. Article 15, Operating Budget. Shall the town raise and appropriate as an operating budget, not including appropriations by special warrant articles and other appropriations voted separately, the amount set forth in the budget posted with the warrant or as amended by the vote of the first session for the purposes set forth therein, totaling $31,226,190. Should this article be defeated, the operating budget shall be $30,669,065, which is the same as last year's operating budget, with certain adjustments required by the previous action of the town or by state law. Of the governing body may hold one special meeting in accordance with RSA 40:13, 10, and 16 to take up the issue of revising operating budget only. Estimated tax rate impact 2023, $5.24 per $1,000 valuation, recommended by the Board of Selectmen by a vote of 5-0, recommended by the Budget Committee by a vote of 9-0. And for informational purposes, an operating budget, simply put, the town's operating budget is the annual fiscal plan and roadmap. It is an itemization of the revenues and expenditures that are expected during the regular course of business during the fiscal year.
Article 16, sewer pump station upgrades, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $648,000 for the purpose of paying for increased costs of engineering, equipment, construction, and inspection of the Laner and Mill Street sewer pump station. This appropriation is non-lapsing pursuant to RSA 32:7.6 and shall elapse on December 31st, 2024, or upon completion of the project, whichever occurs first. This will be paid from the state aid grant in the amount of $648,000 over the next 5 years from the RIB project, which would result in no tax impact. Estimated tax rate for 2023, 0 per thousand of assessed value, recommended by the Board of Selectmen by a vote of 5-0, recommended by the Budget Committee by a vote of 8-0. In 2022, the voters approved funds to upgrade the Mill and Laner Street pump station. The bid prices came back, and the pump station construction price was more than the amount the voters had approved. The effect on inflation was part of the price increase. With the passage of this warrant article, the town will be able to complete both of these pump stations. Please vote in favor of this warrant article, and I'll turn the presentation over to the town manager.
Thank you, Linda. So Linda pretty much hit it. Our problem here is we've got 2 pump stations that are aging. We have 9 others that will need work in the coming years. These 2 pump stations in particular are, for better terms, the workhorses of our wastewater treatment system. They were built in the 1940s and upgraded in the 90s. Both of the stations are beyond their useful life, and they were scheduled for replacement in 2006. We, since that time, have been doing modest repairs, but we've gotten to a point where we can no longer do those repairs because they're leading to significant safety and reliability concerns. Escalation in the pump station requires additional funding in the amount of $302,000 for Mill Street and $100,000 approximately on Laner Street. The 2 stations right now are nearing final design for construction, so we'll be putting out an RFP for qualifications for construction firms to come in and look at it. As Linda said, the town's receiving $648,000 in state aid grant over the next 5 years, and we're going to use that to pay for this, so there'll be no tax rate impact. And we're hopeful that we've got the cost escalations contained with some contracts that are signed for the pump stations at this time. Here's a breakout of some of those escalations at this time based on information provided to us by our engineering firm, and we're ready to, or we will be ready in a matter of a couple months to put this out and hopefully get contractors in here to work. The other thing, one of the reasons why we're seeing some of the increased costs, specifically on Laner Street, originally this was going to be designed in-house as an as-built project. However, DES frowned against that, so we really needed to have this designed in a different construction manner, and that's part of the reason why we see the escalation in that project as well as inspections. We're hopeful that you support this project. We want to get this put behind us so we can focus on some of the smaller pump stations in the coming years. Thank you.
I'm going to read Article 17, fire truck lease purchase, to see if the town will authorize the selectmen to enter into a long-term lease purchase agreement in the amount of $850,000 payable over a term of 5 years for the purpose of entering into a lease purchase agreement for the replacement of fire department engine pumper and to raise and appropriate the sum of $200,000 in 2023 for the down payment to follow by 4 annual payments currently estimated as follows: 2023, $200,000, 24, $182,414, 2025, $182,414, 2026, $182,414, and in 2017, $182,414. This lease purchase agreement does not include any escape clause. Estimated tax impact in 2023, 8 cents per thousand of assessed value. In 2024, 7 cents per thousand of assessed value. In 2025, 7 cents per thousand of assessed value. In 2026, 7 cents per thousand of assessed value. Estimated impact in 2027 is 7 cents per thousand of estimated value. Recommended by the Board of Selectmen by a vote of 5-0. Recommended by the Budget Committee by a vote of 9-0. 3/5 majority vote required. The town staff, the town manager, and the Board of Selectmen looked at 4 different ways to fund the purchase of a new engine pumper truck for the fire department. All parties agreed that an outright purchase was too big of an impact on the tax rate. 3 large payments to a fire truck capital reserve fund over the next 3 years was also too large of an impact on the tax rate. The Board of Selectmen decided to lease the truck with a 5-year lease instead of a 4-year lease, since the 5-year lease was only $4 more than the 2022 payment to the fire truck and apparatus capital reserve. The payments in 2024, 25, 26, and 27 will be $13,586 less than the 2022 payment to the Capital Reserve Fund. Please vote in favor of this warrant article, and I'll turn the presentation over to the Fire Chief.
Thank you. Tom Zotti, Fire Chief. Essentially where we are is we're at a position where we'd like to replace our Engine 4. Engine 4 today is in service. However, probably the major issue we face is some significant frame rust. As you can imagine, being in the Northeast United States and with our winters, such as they are, rust can be an issue. What's happening is we're getting separation between the frame rails, and over time, we've been able to slow it down a bit with some undercoating and things like that, but it's essentially a cancer on the truck, and at some point becomes a matter of time before it's damaged to the point where it can't be safely operated on the roads, and certainly as a piece of emergency equipment. We also have an ongoing problem with the motor, which we're managing with the help of the town's chief mechanic. The fix for that is in the neighborhood of $20,000. Based on the condition of the truck otherwise, we felt that that would frankly be spending good money after bad. And as part of our overall capital improvement program for our apparatus, we're proposing to replace Engine 4. This project, because of other situations over time and so forth, and for the situation explained previously by Mrs. Murray, we felt that the most appropriate way to do this in a cost-effective manner would be to essentially exchange the normally $200,000, $196,000 to be specific, but $200,000 capital reserve contribution for the next few years, and essentially spend the same money slightly differently and allow us to enter into a lease purchase arrangement spend that same $200,000 a year for the next 5 years, and then resume at some point after that our annual contribution to the capital reserve program. This would allow us to enter an agreement with the manufacturer shortly after town meeting. We've identified and contributed to the specs for the vehicle. It meets the town's needs going forward for hopefully a 20 to 25-year period. Because of the situation we're in with manufacturing and so forth, we've been able to work with the manufacturer. They're holding the truck for us based on a handshake at this point till after town meeting decides this. It would be available in approximately 9 to 10 months as opposed to a truck spec'd from scratch, if you will, that would probably at this point be a 2+ year, possibly almost a 3-year lead time. That would allow us, number one, to take delivery, hopefully towards the end of 2023, dispose of engine 4, and hopefully help to reduce our operational costs going forward with maintenance costs and so forth. That will also put us in a position to take our current engine 1, which is what we call our first due piece. It goes out the door pretty much every call first. It's approaching 10 years old. We would like to be able to move that to what we call a second due position. It wouldn't necessarily be the first thing out the door, to extend its life to hopefully get to the point in an efficient and economical manner where we can get its 20-year lifespan. So again, what we propose to do and what we're asking for taxpayers' support in is to essentially allow us to spend the same money slightly differently, to update our fleet and hopefully reduce some of our operating expense going forward. This works in our long-term program primarily because we just happen to be getting into, for lack of a better phrase, a gap in our more major requirements for capital outlay. We have our proposed replacement of our self-contained breathing apparatus coming up in approximately 2 years. Beyond that, we don't propose a capital purchase of that magnitude until the next apparatus is due to be replaced, and I believe it's 2034. So that gives us time to build up the capital reserve fund to be prepared to make the purchases going forward. That's essentially where we are. If there's anyone out there who would like to see the truck or talk about it further, I'd certainly encourage them to contact myself or Deputy Nichols at the fire station pretty much anytime Monday through Friday, and we'd be happy to either show it to them or kind of explain where we are. It's the language of the, again, kind of restating the issue we have and detailing the proposed solution. And once again, it's noted at the bottom, but it works going forward because, again, our next major apparatus purchase wouldn't be expected until the 2033, 2034 timeframe. Maybe a little bit difficult to see, but what we've tried to show is pictures of the rust on the frame. The truck is built on a frame, for lack of a better term, we'll call it a double frame. It's basically a frame rail inside of a frame rail. And as you might imagine, over time, that interstitial area, the area between the frames, collects dirt and debris and moisture and so forth, and tends to be an eventual point of failure for these vehicles. We have these pictures. It doesn't look like that today because we were able to clean it up somewhat and undercoat it in an effort to slow down that process. But we did want to capture some of it in pictures to be able to explain this. The manufacturer of the vehicle that we've spec'd and are working with doesn't use that manufacturing process. They use a single solid frame that by definition avoids that problem. And if we do get a little bit of surface rust, it's generally easier to maintain and easier to clean up. So we would hope in that case to be able to get what we expect to be a 20 to 25 year lifespan out of the vehicle. And again, here are some of the details. We looked at a couple of different options in terms of time frame, and we settled on the the 5-year program, the 4-year lease purchase, because it keeps us at or just under that $200,000 number that we've been spending over the last several years on our apparatus replacement schedule. We've also included a copy of the agreement with the manufacturer who was willing to hold the truck till the end of March of 2023, pending action by town meeting to allow us to raise the down payment and enter into a lease purchase agreement.
Okay, Article 18, Town Road Upgrades. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $850,000 for the purpose of upgrading and engineering for town roads, sidewalks, and drainage systems. To authorize funds in the amount of $850,000 from the town's unassigned fund balance. This appropriation is non-lapsing pursuant to RSA 32:7 and number 6, and shall lapse on December 31st, 2024, or upon completion of the project, whichever occurs first. This appropriation shall not result in any increase to the tax rate. Estimated tax rate impact for 2023 is 0 cents per thousand. It's recommended by the Board of Selectmen by a vote of 5-0. It is further recommended by the Budget Committee by a vote of 8-0. The town of Wolfeboro has responsibility of taking care of many miles of roads in various degrees of age and conditions. Care of these roads has consistently ranked as one of the top concerns of voters and expressed in numerous public hearings. Previous years have seen very high percentages of favorability with these warrant articles, and I ask for your support in this year's warrant article.
Thanks, Luke. Again, I'm here with Steve Randall. One of the changes that you're going to see going forward is our own Department of Public Works is going to be focused more on road maintenance rather than road construction. However, this coming year, the projects of road construction are going to fall in conjunction with Steve, myself, and hopefully if we are able to get a new town engineer on board. So I'll hand it over to Steve right now to talk a little bit about what is our problem and what we're going to be doing going forward. Steve?
So we're running about almost 68 miles of town roads, 54 paved, 14 gravel. More than worse, it's life course, base, drainage, all gone. Solution, we're going to culvert replacements, additional drainage. We have some paving overlays to do, reclaim base, wear coat, rebuild the road base, and focus heavy on drainage. 2023, we want to finalize Maplewood, and then we are going to look at Trask Mountain, Upper Trask, the Diamond Corner, start to formulate a plan going forward.
And again, as stated earlier, the Highway Department is not going to be performing this work. As you've seen in the past, we're going to focus our resources there more on maintenance. Here's a breakdown of unassigned fund balance. You know, there's some options that we can do with our fund balance and where the roads are such critical infrastructure and they are always supported. We feel that this is a good place to put the money because it's essentially money in the bank that you as taxpayers have the option to use it for. We could put this toward reducing the tax rate. The problem is if we have a year where we don't have this level of a fund balance, we could see a significant spike in the tax rate, which is obviously concerning to us and all. So we're hopeful to continue to use these funds going forward for the purposes of our road upgrades and other projects that are popular with the voters on an annual basis. So we hope you support this article. And if you have questions, you can reach out to Steve Randall or myself. Thank you.
I'm going to read the Article 19, Green Street upgrades. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $530,000 for the purpose of upgrading Green Street. Funds shall be utilized for engineering fees, stormwater drainage systems, the replacement of water and sewer mains, and rebuilding the roadway. $100,000 from the Water Enterprise Fund shall be for the purpose of engineering and replacing vintage water mains which service Green Street. $430,000 from the general taxation shall be for the purpose of engineering and replacing the existing sewer main in Green Street, stormwater drainage systems, and rebuilding of Green Street. This appropriation is non-lapsing pursuant to RSA 32:7, Roman numeral 6, and shall lapse on December 31st, 2024, or upon completion of the project, whichever occurs first. Estimated tax rate impact for 2023 is 18 cents per $1,000 of assessed valuation, recommended by the Board of Selectmen by a vote of 5-0, and recommended by the Budget Committee by a vote of 8-0. The water line on Green Street is another one of our vintage water lines that has lead joints and needs to be replaced. The sewer line is also of the vintage era. The upgrade of this line will go a long way in eliminating inflow into the town's sewer system, and this will extend the life of our pump stations and RIB site. So I ask for your support for this warrant article. I'll turn this over to Jim and Steve for further information.
Thanks, Brad. So again, this is, we won't get into the details, but same problem as our roads. You know, we've got aging infrastructure, as Brad alluded to, lead and galvanized lines in the ground. We're seeing water loss, reduced reliability, and we're seeing small to major leaks in our system. All those details are identified and outlined in the 2017 Water Asset Management Plan. So we're trying to follow that going forward as a solution by prioritizing projects and coordinating it with other infrastructure. Schedule on this is hopefully the spring of 2023. Should you support this, we'll be looking to perform construction. This is a chart out of the 2017 Asset Management Plan for the Water Department. It shows 710 linear feet of Green Street that needs to be replaced. It's not a high priority, but it is a priority to get this work done based on the lead lines that we have identified in the system. The two arrows show the lines that will be replaced, and Steve can talk a little bit to the sewer and stormwater and roadway reconstruction. Steve?
So the sewer lines on that street are roughly 12 feet deep. We're looking into hopefully lining them rather than replacing them, and then addressing the stormwater on that road as well. Again, 710 feet, it'll be a full box out with 12 inches of base gravel, 6-inch top gravel.
So we look for your support on this warrant article going forward. And again, this is a vintage water line that we received monies for last year to conduct evaluations on, and we know that it does contain lead, and we want to get that lead out of our system as quickly as we possibly can. So we look forward to your support on this article. Thank you.
Article 20, Mini Excavator, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $130,000 for the purpose of purchasing a mini excavator. The amount of $78,000 shall be funded from the general fund. The amount of $26,000 shall be funded from the Water Enterprise Fund. The amount of $26,000 shall be funded from the Sewer Enterprise Fund. This appropriation is non-lapsant pursuant to RSA 32:7, 6, and shall lapse on December 31st, 2024, or upon completion of the project, whichever occurs first. Estimated tax rate impact for 2023 is 3 cents per $1,000 valuation. Recommended by the Board of Selectmen, vote 5-0. Recommended by the Budget Committee, vote 8-0. For years, our crews have rented mini excavators when needed. They spent a good deal of money every year. There were many times that a mini excavator wasn't available when they needed. If they needed it for a short time, they might not rent one. They'd either dug it by hand or use a large excavator, which can be problematic in tight conditions. This excavator has dual purposes with a sweeping attachment. This purchase will have a short financial payback period as we eliminate the rental and man-hour labor costs. It will also help our crews be more efficient in their service to our town.
Thanks, Brian. You may ask, if the highway department has $3 million worth of equipment and this program of replacement, why are we not using those funds? And it really boils down to, this is an expansion of the existing fleet. And we currently don't have a mini excavator, so it was discussed with staff over the past year. It was evaluated, and Steve Randall's here to be able to speak on the merits of this project. Steve?
So we've been averaging over the last 3 years close to $30,000 in rental. It'll be a significant benefit to highways. We begin more and more maintenance, more ditching, like I said, across the whole town.
So we thank you for your consideration on this. Brian, thank you for pushing this one along. And right now, the highway department is evaluating what machine they should secure going forward. So we look forward to your support, and you know, this will be helpful to the water and sewer departments as well. Thank you.
This article is Article 21, Municipal Electric Utility Boat. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $170,000 for the purpose of replacing the Municipal Electric Department boat, trailer, and associated equipment. The amount of $170,000 shall be funded from the Electric Enterprise Fund. This expenditure shall not result in any increase in the tax rate. This appropriation is non-lapsing pursuant to RSA 32:7,6 and shall lapse on December 31st, 2024, or upon completion of the project, whichever occurs first. Estimated tax rate impact 2023, 0 cents per 1,000 assessed valuation. It is recommended by the Board of Selectmen by a vote of 5-0, and recommended by the Budget Committee by a vote of 8-0. The Town of Wolfeboro Municipal Electric Department serves hundreds of customers on the islands in Wolfeboro. The current boat was damaged twice this past year, and as a result, a new boat is needed to service the islands during power outages and routine repairs and maintenance. This new boat will enable the Municipal Electric Department to better serve the island residents in future years. Again, passage of this article has 0 impact on the tax rate. I ask for your support on this warrant article. And now I'd hand it over to Barry Muccio, Town of Wolfeboro Electric Department.
Thank you, Luke. Barry Muccio, Director of Operations, Wolfeboro Electric. As Luke stated, we serve 6 islands out on Lake Winnipesaukee and 3 on Lake Wentworth, approximately 150 customers that we service. Our current boat is more of a sport utility fishing boat than an actual work sort of craft that would allow us to get tools and equipment out there in a more efficient manner. Again, it is undersized for what we use it for. It is used primarily for transportation of people and equipment, new construction, maintenance, emergency response, trouble calls, power outages, and everything else, tree work as well. The existing boat was purchased in 2003. It'll be 21 years old upon taking delivery of the new boat. It currently has 630 hours. It has a capacity of 1,500 pounds, which is commonly exceeded when we bring a transformer to be out to be replaced out there. Currently, the maintenance and repair costs are $16,860, which is approximately 80% of the original purchase cost of that boat. So it's getting up there. On top of all those other deficiencies, we did sustain a couple of injuries, I'd say, to the boat this past summer, with some damage to the gunnels you see there on the left, and it's pointed out on the right, and also where the fuel fill is. That support mechanism there got broke from 2 different incidents here at the town docks. The estimated repair costs were $53.75. When our insurance people adjuster came out, they actually valued the boat at $54.50. So due to that, the boat was declared as a total loss. This is an example of a proposed new boat. It'd be more in line of a commercial vessel, 24 feet, aluminum hull, 2,500 pound capacity, It would be equipped with a 500-pound crane and transformer winch, just a sort of a single driver's seat with exterior seating and some storage capabilities. This happens to be another example of an alternate manufacturer. This would be a single engine, though, versus the two shown. Here's an example of one of our neighboring utilities' boat. This happens to be Meredith's boat, Meredith division of New Hampshire Electric Co-op. And you'll see it's very similar to what we're proposing. And it's well weighted down with gear, so you need something that can handle that. The project will be funded from the existing fund balance of the Municipal Electric Department, so it has no effect on the customer tax rate. It also will have no effect on the existing customer kilowatt hour rate, as these projects have already been built into our CIP schedule as well as our rate. I thank you for your support. Thank you.
Article 22 is the AFSCME collective bargaining agreement. See if the town will vote to approve the cost items included in the 2-year collective bargaining agreement reached between the Board of Selectmen and Local Number 534, the American Federation of State, County, Municipal Employees, AFSCME, which calls for the following increase in salaries and benefits at current staffing levels of 43 employees. 2023, $86,863 in wages, and benefits $20,870 for a total of $107,733. 2024, wages $60,917, benefits $14,475, or $75,392. To further raise and appropriate $107,723 for the current year. Such sum represents the additional costs attributed to the increase in wages and benefits required by the new agreement over those that would be paid at current levels. Estimated tax impact 2023, 4 cents per thousand, recommended by the Board of Selectmen 5-0, recommended by the Budget Committee 8-0. Again, this is a contract between the union and the town. It's a 2-year contract, which we wanted at the beginning, and they have agreed to that.
A couple of items that are noteworthy within this one and the next one you'll hear about. It requires the establishment of a healthcare committee. That healthcare committee will evaluate healthcare costs going forward and whether or not we should, as a town, look at different plans to be able to potentially look at increasing the employees' contribution rate. Healthcare is one of the big driving costs that we as a town have. We know it's problematic. The employees know it's problematic. So we're hopeful to be able to work together in a unified solution on this. Again, this represents 43 employees. And year one, to put it into context for you, year one is a 5% raise, and year two is a 3.5% raise. Just so you're aware, the non-union staff as well is receiving a 5% raise. So this is in alignment with the non-union staff, and it's very close in alignment with the police union.
Article 23, NEPBA Police Collective Bargaining Agreement. To see if the town will vote to appropriate the cost items included in a 2-year collective bargaining agreement reached between the town and Local Number 39 of the New England Police Benevolent Association, which calls for the following increase in wages and benefits at current staffing level of 17 employees. Year 2023, wages $44,843, benefits $19,937, for a total of $64,780. 2024, wages of $22,080, benefits $6,640 for a total of $28,720. And further, to raise and appropriate the sum of $64,780 for the current year, such sum representing the additional costs attributed to the increase in wages and benefits required by the new agreement over those that would be paid at current levels. Estimated tax impact, 2023, 2 cents per thousand, recommended by the Police Commission, 3-0, recommended by the Board of Selectmen, 5-0, and recommended by the Budget Committee, 8-0. Jim?
Thanks, Dave. So, very similar. 17 employees. This contract calls for 5.5% in raises in year one and 3% raises in year two. Between both units, that's an 8.5% raise over the next 2 years. So we've created some parity there. This agreement also calls for the establishment of that healthcare committee to work with the other union and management and the board to try and be able to find some efficiencies regarding healthcare. We're hopeful that you support this article going forward. And this current contract covers police officers and the dispatchers. Thank you very much.
Article 24, School Resource Officer, Kingswood Complex. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $72,706 for the purpose of creating a new position within the Wolfeboro Police Department effective June 5th, 2023. During the regular school year, this position shall be assigned the position of School Resource Officer for the Kingswood Complex. The remainder of time outside the regular school year, this position shall be assigned as a Town of Wolfeboro Patrol Officer. The school district, SAU 49, shall pay the Town of Wolfeboro 50% of the payroll and benefits, which is $22,338 for this position for up to 73 school days, August 2023 through December 2023, outlined below. The current MOU with the SAU 49 is $306 per day. The SAU 49 SRO cost is $306 per day, 73 days, $22,338 cost per day, again $306 for 180 days for 2024 at $55,080. The town SRO cost is $179 for 73 days, for 2023 costs of $13,093, $199 a day for 188 days, for 2024 costs of $32,283. The town policing cost per day is $485, number of days 77 days, 2023 costs of $37,275, cost per day is $505 for 80 days, for 2024 costs of $38,828. The total cost for 2023 is $72,706. The total cost for 2024 is $126,191. The daily rate for 2023 is $485, and the daily rate for 2024 is $505. This position shall be created and filled only if both the town warrant article and the SAU 49 warrant article 7 pass. If both articles are successful, this position shall be fully funded in future years, with the SAU 49 paying half of payroll and benefits for up to 180 days outlined above. Estimated tax rate impact for 2023 is 2 cents per $1,000 assessed valuation, recommended by the Police Commission by a vote of 3-0, recommended by the Board of Selectmen by a vote of 4-0-1, recommended by the Budget Committee by a vote of 5-4. And to speak on this, we have our wonderful Chief of Police, Chief Dean Rondo.
Thank you very much, Brian. I'm Chief Dean Rondo, Wolfeboro Chief of Police. So this warrant article was initiated by the Wolfeboro Police Commission based off of their assessment, of course, supported by myself and the police department, based off of their assessment that we were becoming overwhelmed at the Kingswood Regional school complex in Wolfeboro. We have one SRO up there right now. That SRO has got an extremely heavy caseload. And this SRO position is a cost-sharing initiative between the town of Wolfeboro and the SAU 49 school district. The idea here is to split the workload at the Kingswood complex while providing mutual support to both officers up there and to deal with any safety and security issues that arise. This is recommended by myself. I think this is an excellent initiative. And as you can see, it's been recommended by the Police Commission, the Board of Selectmen, as well as the Budget Committee. This is a cost breakout of the costs a little bit clearer to see. The reason the first year is a little higher for the Wolfeboro Police Department in the 2023 cost because we're actually going to start, we plan to start that new SRO position in June, where we have time to get the officer training and equipped and put him or her through a field training program prior to the start of the school year at the end of August or 1st of September, and then carrying it through the end of the school year. The following 2024 costs would be for the full school year, and there you have it. So moving into the Article 24 issue discussion recommendation slide, I just want to point out that an accompanying school board sister warrant article was voted on by the school board relative to the same position, and that we would welcome your support on this, and we think at the end of the day this is the right move for the Kingswood Regional School Complex. Thank you very much, and please support this warrant article.
I'm going to read Article 25, Police Cruiser Replacement. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $66,000 for the purpose of for the purchase of a police cruiser replacement vehicle and ancillary vehicle equipment, with $5,000 coming from the police detail revolving fund created by Article 23 in 2006, which has accumulated from special details in prior years. Additionally, this warrant article also grants permission to the Wolfeboro Police Commission to dispose of one existing cruiser by sale, auction, trade, or disposal, with any proceeds to be returned to the town's general fund. The estimated tax rate impact for 2023 is 3 cents per thousand of assessed valuation. It is recommended by the Police Commission by a vote of 3-0. It is recommended by the Board of Selectmen by a vote of 5-0. And it is recommended by the Budget Committee by a vote of 6-2. Police vehicles see wear and tear associated with most commercial use. If this warrant article is passed, the department will dispose of an old cruiser with over 100,000 miles. The current vehicle has significant issues both mechanically and structurally, and will most likely not pass state inspection this coming year. I'm now going to hand it off to Chief Rondo for further information.
Thank you very much. Again, Chief Rondo, Wolfeboro PD. So with everything mechanical, our vehicles do see a lot of wear and tear. We have 11 vehicles in the inventory right now, 3 of which have well over 100,000 miles. The long winters up here with the salt and other chemicals on the road that we use in the wintertime to help melt the snow, take their tear. Of course, then the high humidity and moisture during the summertime doesn't help. Though we try to give our vehicles a break as much as possible, sometimes vehicles go down for maintenance, or officers are away at training, or other administrative tasks, and force vehicles into an overtime rotation, if you will, and they get more use than we would like. In this particular case, we plan to do away with one Ford Taurus and replace it with a hybrid cruiser, which will help us reduce gas and oil consumption in the coming years. So this has been supported by all of our committees. It is definitely a need at this point. And again, like everything else, we have to maintain and replace our worn-out equipment. Currently, the Ford Tauruses in the inventory, of which we still have 3, are approximately 9 years old. We're trying to get to the 10-year mark, but on one of these vehicles, we're just not going to be able to do it. So that's the reason why this vehicle finds its way into our warrant articles this year. Thank you very much.
Article 26, readoption of the Veterans Tax Credit. Shall the town of Wolfeboro vote in accordance with RSA 72:27-A to readopt the provisions of RSA 72:28-2, previously adopted for an optional Veterans Tax Credit at $500 per year? If readopted, the all Veterans Tax Credit previously adopted will also be $500 per year, the same amount as the optional Veterans Tax Credit. If readopted and approved, this article shall take effect for the 2023 property tax year. It's recommended by the Board of Selectmen by a vote of 5-0. It is further recommended by the Budget Committee by a vote of 5-0 to 3.
I'm going to read Article 27, the Public Works Vehicle and Equipment Capital Reserve Funding. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $300,000 to be added to the existing Public Works Vehicles and Equipment Capital Reserve Fund, which is under custody of the trustee of the trust funds with the Selectmen designated as agents to expend. The estimated tax rate impact for 2023 is 13 cents per $1,000 of assessed valuation. This is recommended by the Board of Selectmen by a vote of 5-0, recommended by the Budget Committee by a vote of 8-1. You'll see in these following slides that the DPW has vehicles and equipment valued in excess of $3 million. Maintenance costs have been increasing due to the new emission standards that need to be met, the electronics and overall quality of today's vehicles. To help lower these costs, we're looking at possibly getting higher quality vehicles, which should also offer longer longevity. I ask you for support for this warrant article, and I'll turn this over to Steve Randall for further information.
As Brad said, we've got excess of 50 vehicles, pieces of equipment, over $3 million in inventory. Cost escalations are becoming problematic for us. And when we go to trade these things in toward the end of the life cycle, there's not a lot of value left in them. The vehicles are worked hard. Going forward, currently Steve is reviewing the replacement schedule and program. He's working with the garage to improve the maintenance program, including the staff as well, that operates the equipment. And we're looking, going forward, at potentially buying higher quality vehicles, which may give us longer lifestyle, reduced maintenance, but it's going to come with some upfront costs. This is the previous program by the previous director. As you look at this, you'll see 3 items highlighted in green, which show to be need for replacement. One of those items was replaced. The compactor at solid waste failed. We ended up having to replace that earlier in the cycle. We've got a pickup truck that's the foreman's pickup truck that's scheduled for replacement this year. And the other item that's highlighted is a dump truck, which we had rebuilt the motor in a couple of years ago, and we feel we can get a couple more years out of it. So Steve is going to talk to you a little bit now about the first piece of equipment that he's looking to replace, and there's 2 pieces this year. Steve?
First thing we're looking to do is replace HD8, which is a 2002 case loader. It was a primary loader downtown up until 19. It's got well over 25,000 hours on it. Lot of repairs need to be done to it. The motor is starting to fail, hydraulics, brakes. Repair costs anywhere in the $25,000 to $30,000 range. Originally scheduled for replacement in 27. What we're looking to do is replace with a smaller, more agile machine with a pickup broom and a plow for downtown. Broom will have a gutter brush, so we can make much more trips downtown, keep it nicer, more on probably at least a couple days a week schedule. And then the plow will be a lot like the one we have on the bigger loader now, power angle pusher. The second one would be the foreman's truck, 2011. It's in decent shape. That will be repurposed up to solid waste. Their truck failed inspection this past year and was decommissioned. So we will take and transfer the foreman's truck up to solid waste. That will give them a reliable second vehicle for them.
And that's the end of Article 27.
I will read Article 28, Sidewalk Capital Reserve Funding, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $75,000 to be added to the existing Sidewalk Capital Reserve Fund, which is under the custody of the trustees of trust funds with the selectmen designated as agent to expend. Estimated tax rate 2023, 3 cents per thousand, recommended by the Board of Selectmen 5-0. Recommended by the Budget Committee 9-0. Many of the town's sidewalks are in poor condition. By adding $75,000 to the $66,804 already in the Sidewalk Capital Reserve account, these funds will allow the town to upgrade some of our sidewalks throughout town. The sidewalks along South Main Street will not be done until the state of New Hampshire starts its work on South Main Street / Route 28 sometime between 2024 and 2026. Please vote in favor of this warrant article. I'll turn the presentation over to the town manager and Steve Randall.
Thank you, Linda. So one of the interesting things that we've identified within our town is we've got 7.5 miles of sidewalk that the town is responsible for maintaining. 64.1% of the sidewalks are classified as in poor condition. And I think anybody who walks them can attest to where those may be. 10.4% are classified in fair condition, with 25.5% classified as in good condition. We know that the repairs on these sidewalks are costly because of the need to mobilize and just the type of work that's being done. So our plan going forward, or a solution going forward, is to continue contributing to this capital reserve fund for sidewalk repairs. We're hopeful that we can, with a greater amount of money in the account this year, we may be able to get a larger scope of work done as we won't have to pay for additional mobilizations. Moving forward, we're looking to strategize the sidewalk repairs with water, sewer, stormwater projects and other road and reconstruction projects, and hopefully to be able to create a sidewalk surface management plan. Here's an outline of the sidewalk inventory and the conditions based on an assessment performed in the late summer of 2021. And we'll be going through and identifying or updating that. Here is a proposal that was given to us late in the fall of 2022 to upgrade a certain amount of sidewalks. We ended up not exercising this option, and Steve can talk a little bit as to the scope of this project and what we are hoping to be able to do in 2023. Steve?
So, as you can see with the numbers, the goal is going to be a larger scale process. That was, I don't remember the footage off the top of my head of those. It was very small. The smaller the project, the higher the number turned out to be. We're hoping to get a larger footprint and then reduce the percentage in those numbers down drastically.
So we're hopeful you support this article. Sidewalks are important to walkability of town. And the highway department did actually do a couple of small repairs that were identified as being critical at the end of last year. So please support this article.
Article 29, Building Maintenance Capital Reserve Funding. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $50,000 to be added to the existing Building Maintenance Capital Reserve Fund, which is under the custody of the trustees of the trust funds with selectmen designated as agents to expend this capital reserve fund. Estimated tax rate impact for 2023 is 2 cents per thousand. It is recommended by the Board of Selectmen by a vote of 5-0 and recommended by the Budget Committee by a vote of 8-1. This is a standing warrant article that we have and had for many years. This fund allows the town to take care of mid-year unexpected expenses such as when a heating system fails or other large expenses that occur in buildings that the town currently maintains. And as Wolfeboro has many buildings under its care, this is a very important article, and I ask for you to support it. I'll now hand it over to the town manager.
Thanks, Luke. So as Luke said, this is a long-standing program. This has actually worked out very well for us for some unscheduled events that have occurred. Obviously, the department heads do their best to try and schedule repairs and infrastructure work within their buildings, but things happen. So what our problem here is, we've got 23 buildings that we as a town are responsible for. This does not include the buildings operated by the enterprise funds. Buildings are maintained through their operating budget. However, as you just noted, building systems can become expensive to do repairs to. Items which maybe include roofs, heating system, ventilation, air conditioning, HVAC systems, plumbing systems. They're often unscheduled and they are costly. And by doing this capital reserve fund, it allows the departments to continue to operate at optimal efficiency without having negative impact on their budget. We've also used it for some painting, siding repairs, and some roof repairs to Town Hall, which we'll be doing some more of in the coming months. So we're hopeful that you support this capital reserve fund. It provides us the opportunity to take care of those unanticipated repairs and keep the buildings in excellent shape.
Article 30, wastewater treatment plant capital reserve funding. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $200,000 to be added to the existing wastewater treatment plant capital reserve fund under the custody of the trustees of trust fund, with the selectman designated as agent to expend this capital reserve fund. Estimated tax rate impact 2023 is 8 cents per thousand of evaluation. Recommended by the Board of Selectmen 5-0, recommended by the Budget Committee by a vote of 9-0. The wastewater treatment plant was identified in 2006 that it needed to be upgraded. The wastewater treatment plant capital reserve fund was established as a way to fund needed capital projects which would extend the useful life of the plant. This has been a very successful way to keep the plant functioning, and in fact, in 2016, the town won an award for the best small wastewater treatment plant. These funds will be used to replace the pumps in the near future. A large upgrade will be needed. At this point, the fund has a zero balance.
Thank you, Linda. As Linda said, this account currently has no money in it. It's actually a little bit upside down. We're looking to appropriate $200,000 in this account, and the project going forward this year is to replace the pumps which were installed in the mid-'80s. The pumps have been rebuilt once, and they're showing need to be rebuilt again. So the solution going forward is to replace the pumps. Obviously, pumps built in the 80s compared to today, there's some energy efficiencies that we're hoping to gain, and these pumps are costly to rebuild as they're aged. And these pumps will integrate with the upgrades that will be coming to you in the coming years for the wastewater treatment facility. Here's a couple of the pictures of the pumps. We can't thank our contracted operator enough. They do an outstanding job at maintaining them. They look immaculate, but the fact of the matter is they've lived their life cycle. We need to get these replaced. And these are the pumps that move the effluent from the treatment plant to the detention pond. So they're kind of critical for us to be able to keep that product from bothering us in downtown. So please support this article going forward, and we thank you for your support.
Article 31, Water Resources Non-Capital Reserve Funding, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate a sum of $100,000 to be added to the existing non-capital reserve fund pursuant to RSA 35:1-C for the purpose of a watershed management plans, including engineering, design, permitting, best management practices for stormwater drainage and nutrition mitigation, grant matching, and education, which is under the trustees of trust funds, with the selectmen as agent to expend this non-capital reserve fund. The town's most valuable assets are its beautiful lakes, ponds, rivers, and streams. The town's water assets have attracted many to move or vacation in Wolfeboro and have played a key role in keeping citizens who were born here to stay here. With the outbreak of cyanobacteria in Winter Harbor, the Board of Selectmen established the Wolfeboro Waters Committee to focus on water quality. By adding $100,000 to the $76,559 already in this capital reserve fund, it will allow the town to address stormwater runoff issues by developing best management plans, applying for 319 grants, and addressing runoff emergency. In 2023, the town will need to use some of these funds to address the washout of White Gate Road and at Albee Beach. And I'll please vote in favor of this warrant article. I'll turn over the presentation to the town manager.
Thank you, Linda. Linda pretty much summed it up. You know, one of the things that we are observing, there was a time when it was a best practice to take the water from our streets and simply dump it into the lake. And that was done in a manner that at the time was a best management practice. It kept the water from infiltrating onto properties. But what we're learning as a result of it is it does contribute to degradation of our waterways. So being able to put best management practices in place to get some water treatment before it goes into the lake helps to protect our lakes in the future. And here's a couple of pictures, as Linda alluded to, regarding Whitegate Lane and some of the washouts which have occurred. As we've experienced over this past season, we've had some more torrential rains, and it's certainly made a negative impact in this area. This is a good warrant article. These are going to be a good use of monies going forward to try and protect that precious body of water, which we've seen cyanobacteria outbreaks, and we hope that you support this article going forward. Thank you.
Article 32 is the Abenaki Ski Area Capital Reserve Funding, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $25,000 to be added to the existing Abenaki Capital Reserve Fund, which is under the custody of the trustees of trust funds, with selectmen designated as agents to expend. Estimated tax rate impact 2023, 1 cent per thousand assessed valuation, recommended by the Board of Selectmen by a vote 5-0, recommended by the Budget Committee by a vote of 9-0. So a capital reserve fund is used as a budgeting tool that allows municipalities to set money apart from the general fund for specific purposes. Towns, school districts, and village districts under the provision of RSA 35 may establish capital reserve funds. The term reserve fund commonly refers to capital reserve funds.
Thanks, Brian. Christine Collins, Parks and Recreation Director. This fund was created back in 2016, and it really has been a blessing to Abenaki. We have recently been able to update our UTV that was very old, so we used it as much as we actually could. We just had an upgrade with Friends of Abenaki to the lighting system, so we did up this by $5,000 to reflect that, and we have utilized it for repairs needed to be done to the groomer, and we're currently in the process of raising those funds. Although the groomer has been fixed, it is, getting tired, so we are just raising funds in order to be proactive when we do have to replace it. As you can see from the spreadsheet, it kind of puts out, like every 3 years, we get a new rope for Abenaki. There's lights that need to be replaced. So everything that's listed above with the life expectancy is down below on when it will be replaced. And we really appreciate your vote on this. And please come and visit your ski area that is in your backyard. Thank you.
Article 33, establish tree removal and replacement expendable trust fund to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $125,000 to establish a tree removal and replacement expendable trust fund. Said fund shall be under the custody of the trustees of trust funds and to designate the selectmen as agent to expend. Estimated tax rate impact 2023, 5 cents per thousand of assessed value, recommended by the Board of Selectmen 5-0, recommended by the Budget Committee by a vote of 7-2. Early in 2022, the town hired Bartlett tree experts to conduct a tree inventory and management plan for the trees on South Main Street, Center Street, and Pleasant Valley Road. 661 trees were inventoried, with 230 trees categorized as needing to be removed as soon as possible. Of those 230 trees, only 60 were on town property. The $125,000 will be used to remove some of the trees on town property only. In addition, the town has set up a donation account for citizens to donate funds to replace trees. The funds have already been received, gift funds have already been received. Please vote in favor of this warrant article, and I'll turn it over to the town manager.
Thank you, Linda. So anybody who's driven through town, any place in New Hampshire or New England for that matter, can see the damage that's being done as a result of the emerald ash borer. What we're hoping to do going forward is to use some of these funds to be able to remove hazardous trees as identified, but as well to be able to plant trees in their place. Now, we spoke earlier about South Main Street and the reconstruction that will be done on that. There are 60 trees on town property that need to be removed. We would not anticipate replacing those trees until after that South Main Street project is done, because it just doesn't make good sense to put a tree in and then dig the entire area up. So going forward, being a tree city, we're hopeful to be able to plant trees going forward. When I spoke with our tree warden, Kurt Titus, he said there was a time in the 80s when him and a co-worker of his were planting in excess of 20 trees a year in town. And unfortunately, we're seeing a lot of those trees today dying because of disease, emerald ash borer, and other related effects of modern society. So we're hopeful you support this, and we anticipate this becoming a regular article going forward so that we're able to keep some beautiful trees and foliage in the downtown area. Thank you.
Article 34, Warmth and More Fund, expanded. To see whether the town will vote to authorize an expansion of the existing Warmth and More Fund as approved by voters in 2021 for the purpose of expanding the program to operate a wood bank to assist those in need of firewood for heating purposes. Passage of this article would allow the town to accept donations of firewood into the wood bank. Distribution of firewood for heating purposes would be determined by the welfare director. Estimated tax rate impact 2023, 0 cents per $1,000 assessed valuation, recommended by the Board of Selectmen by a vote of 5-0. This warrant article seeks to expand the already existing Warmth and More Fund to allow the town to accept donations of wood. This wood would be used to provide heating assistance to Wolfeboro residents. There will be no financial impact on taxpayers. Article 35, petition warrant article as submitted. Shall the town vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $50,000 for the purpose of contributing to construction of a new playground at Carpenter School? Estimated tax rate impact 2023 is 2 cents per thousand assessed valuation, recommended by the Budget Committee by a vote of 5 to 4. Article 36, petition warrant article as submitted. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $81,000 for the purpose of constructing an access way 45 feet long extending from the sidewalk on South Main Street along the west side of Cape Park to create an ADA standards compliant ramp providing access for disabled people to park and use the waterfront. This appropriation is non-lapsing pursuant to RSA 32:7(6) and shall lapse on December 31st, 2024 or upon completion of the project, whichever occurs first. Estimated tax rate impact for 2023, 3 cents per $1,000 assessed valuation, recommended by the Budget Committee by a vote of 8 to 1. Article 37, petition warrant article as submitted. To ask the town selectmen to support the beautification of the town, specifically in the areas by the railroad station, trolley pickup, town hall, and the strip of dirt in front of IGA by doing the following. Combine current landscaping budgets now split between parks and recreation and public works to make it easier to manage currently fragmented landscaping work and costs. To increase funding by $10,700 in addition to the current budgets of Parks and Rec and Public Works to allow an external landscaping company to be hired for 25 hours a week for 20 weeks. To add an additional $4,000 to the plant materials budget for hardy perennials. The majority of our town landscape areas are maintained on a volunteer basis by the Wolfeboro Garden Club or individuals. In 2022, these spaces were eyesores and greatly neglected. It is no longer sustainable for the spaces cited above to be maintained by volunteer or to be added to garden club projects. Parks and Rec attempted to hire a gardener in 2022 with a budget of 32 hours at 20 weeks, $18.25 an hour, $11,980.80, and were unsuccessful in finding a candidate. Estimated tax rate impact 2023, 1 cent per $1,000 assessed valuation, not recommended by the Budget Committee by a vote of 8 to 1. Article 38, petition warrant article as submitted. To see if the town will vote to establish the Wolfeboro Parks and Rec Commission. Under RSA 35-B, members shall be citizens of Wolfeboro and consist of 9 members appointed by the Board of Selectmen, serving staggering terms of the 3 years, with 1 member of the Board of Selectmen serving as ex officio pursuant to RSA 35-B-4. Wolfeboro Parks and Recreation Commission shall exercise the powers and duties vested in it in accordance with RSA 35-B:3, with any powers not designated retained by the Board of Selectmen and Wolfeboro Town Meeting. Further pursuant to RSA 35-B:2, Roman numeral 2, established a recreation revolving fund whose expenditures shall be the sole purpose of parks and recreation. Said fund shall not be considered part of the town's unreserved fund balance, non-lapsing funds. Estimated tax rate impact 2023, 0 cents per $1,000 assessed valuation. Article 39, petition warrant article as submitted. By petition of 25 or more eligible voters of the town of Wolfeboro to see if the town will vote to prohibit expending town funds for the purpose of taking action towards the banning of books or any other content from our Wolfeboro Public Library, thereby guaranteeing our citizens their First Amendment rights and their rights under the New Hampshire Constitution. Article 22, free speech, library of the press. Additionally, to see if the town will direct the selectmen of the town of Wolfeboro to urge the New Hampshire General Court to stop all actions, including House and Senate bills, infringing upon First Amendment rights as explained in the 1939 Library Bill of Rights, the 1953 Freedom to Read Statement, and the 1999 Libraries and American Value. The record of this vote approving this article shall be transmitted by written notice from the Wolfeboro Board of Selectmen to our New Hampshire state legislatures and our Carroll County attorney, informing them of the vote of the March 14, 2023 town election within 30 days. Estimated tax rate impact 2023, 0 cents per $1,000 assessed valuation. Article 40, petition article as submitted. Are you in favor of authorizing the Wolfeboro Board of Selectmen to, 1, accept the mountain bike trails construction on town-owned parcels of land known as the Abenaki Recreational Ski Area and Wolfeboro Spray Fields with a donation, construction cost, and values of $170,986. 2, determine what is in the best interest of the town and said properties for future development of the mountain bike trail system, and to authorize the selectmen to enter into a legal and binding agreement with the Wolfeboro Single Track Alliance to operate and maintain the Abenaki Recreational Area and Wolfeboro Spray Field mountain bike trail system. And 3, accept up to $300,000 in financial donation for future mountain bike trail development. Estimated tax rate impact 2023, 0 cents per $1,000 assessed valuation.